Social Biters. My name is Jeannie and this is Chef Melissa. You already know thesocialbites.com for their honest Westchester restaurant reviews and social offers. Today we are here to give you a quick lesson on how to make chicken pot pie and apple crumb pie.
So first I want to say we're going to use the pie dough recipe for both the savory and the sweet. It's universal. We're going to start with all-purpose flour, baking powder, salt, ice cold butter, and ice cold water.
Okay, so what do we do?
Okay, so first you're going to mix all your dry ingredients. You're going to take a teaspoon of the baking powder. Make sure that it's leveled out. You don't want to have too much or too little. Same thing with the salt. It's just a teaspoon of the salt.
Okay.
And then get rid of those. You don't need them anymore. And you're going to just mix them together.
Do I get to add anything? Can I help?
You can help. I'll tell you when. You can start adding the butter right in.
Just pouring it in?
Yeah, just slowly. I'll help you. And make sure that the butter is as
All
cold as possible. Yeah, you're going to put all the butter in.
Go ahead, I got it.
And so now what you're going to do is you're going to make sure that every single piece of butter is coated in the flour.
Okay.
So you mix it up, crumble it, and at about this stage, we can take it right over to the food processor and get it started. Okay. And you're gonna just dump your dough. Jeannie, if you could just help me a little, guide it in there so we don't make a mess. All right, now you're gonna close the lid. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our ice cold water.
Okay.
And we're gonna turn our food processor on, and you're gonna slowly drip the water into the dough. Except your foot. All right, it looks like it's ready to go. So we're gonna take this off.
Okay.
We're gonna bring this over to my already floured table. Thank you, Jeannie, for doing that for me.
Okay.
I'm gonna take the dough out. And it might be a little wet, but thank you. You're gonna divide the dough into two separate pieces. And as quickly as possible, you're going to knead them.
Okay.
Just so they come together. If you can grab me a sheet of plastic so we could wrap it up. And make sure when you do wrap it that you wrap it well. Dough does take on the flavor of any scents around it because it is just flour and butter.
And how long do you have to leave it in the refrigerator for?
The suggested amount is 24 hours, but 35 to 45 minutes will suffice. And again, it's universal. So chicken pot pie, apple pie, pumpkin pie, Boston cream pie, whatever pie you want to make, this dough, you can use it. So while the dough is resting, we're gonna start making the chicken pot pie filling.
Okay, so what actually goes into the chicken pot pie filling?
We've got some celery, onion, potato, carrots, garlic, and chicken.
Is everything raw?
No, actually I cubed and cooked the potatoes. I chopped and I boiled the carrots until they were al dente, and then I shocked them in ice water so I would stop the cooking process, because if we keep cooking them in the filling, they're gonna get all mushy.
Okay, perfect.
The chicken I actually poached myself in chicken broth with some garlic, thyme, rosemary, give it a little more flavor. But I know a lot of people don't have a lot of time. They could buy a rotisserie chicken, take off as much fat and skin as you want, and then they could dice it and chop it and throw it in the filling as well.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna chop this up and then we'll get started.
Excellent.
So make sure when you're chopping, you always leave your hands flat against the knife because you could cut your fingers.
Always important not to do that.
It really is. I'm gonna chop it all. And you wanna cut it into the sizes that you want. So bite size, if you like really hearty chicken, you could do it thicker. My mother told me that my last one was too thick for her.
So you could shred it too, right?
No, I wouldn't shred it. If you shred it, it's going to fall apart when you cook it, and there's gonna be no real chicken bites in your chicken. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the filling. It's really easy. We're gonna get the butter in the pot. Put that to the side. I'm gonna let it melt. And you should have your flame on low, not too high. You don't wanna scorch the butter or let it burn or anything like that. So once the butter is completely melted, which it almost is, we're gonna add the onions.
And how long do we let the onions cook for?
The onions, we're gonna let them saute for about a minute or two.
So they look translucent?
No, not yet. I want them to really cook with the celery, but you just want to give them a little bit of a jump start.
Okay.
So what we'll do now is we're going to add some salt. And again, I'm using kosher salt, so it has more of a flavor than regular table salt.
Okay.
And then we're also going to add some pepper.
It smells good.
Thanks. So again, once it's at this point, we are going to add the celery. Because of all the ingredients, the celery actually does take the longest to cook.
Okay.
So we're actually gonna let this sit and simmer till everything gets nice and translucent.
Okay.
For about 10, maximum 15 minutes.
So while we're waiting for the onions and the celery to cook, what else do we need to do?
Well, we're gonna make a roux,
Okay.
which is very simple. It's equal parts of butter and flour, and it's gonna be our thickening agent.
Okay.
As opposed to using cornstarch or arrowroot, which are good thickeners, but those are temporary thickeners.
Okay.
As whereas a roux will thicken for a longer period of time. So you could cook with the roux and use it, and the sauce or cream will stay thicker for days, as opposed to arrowroot, cornstarch, where it's good for a few hours. All right, so we're gonna take our butter.
Okay.
I'm gonna let it melt nicely. And this one you wanna make sure that it melts completely. Okay, so you're gonna slowly start to add the flour.
Okay.
You might have to use your finger to, I'll help you. Okay. And then you want to slowly start to mix it. Go ahead, you can keep adding it. And it's gonna thicken. And we're gonna cook out all the flour. Otherwise it will leave your food with a starchy flour aftertaste.
Okay.
And never stop the movement. Always keep it moving.
So the roux is done.
The roux is done. I am going to pass you this whisk.
Okay.
I'm gonna put it to the side. I'm going to bring the onions and celery up front. Grab my spoon, and I'm going to now add the garlic.
Okay.
So add in all the garlic. Now the garlic only has to toast for a few minutes. So once that's in there, you are going to help me and slowly add the chicken stock.
Okay. I'm eager to help.
You could slowly add it. Keep going. Keep going. I'll tell you when. A little bit more. That's good.
Okay.
All right. So once you have it about here, I'm gonna bring it up to a really slow simmer.
Okay.
Okay. Now that we're up to a light simmer, we're going to add our chicken.
Okay.
Careful not to splash yourself. I'm gonna let that cook for a second. Now the last thing we're definitely gonna add, I'm gonna put some more pepper in here, is the potatoes and the carrots because they will fall apart.
Okay.
You don't want them to fall apart. And now, the moment you have been waiting for, I'm going to add the roux. So you're gonna slowly just give it another mix because we've been letting it sit for a minute.
Okay.
I'm gonna pour it right in. Put it to the side. And you're gonna mix it in and you're gonna let it cook. Now I'm gonna ask you to do is pour in a little bit of that heavy cream we have there. All right, that's good. And now you're gonna add in a little bit of the chicken stock. That's good for now. All right, so now I'm going to add the potatoes.
Okay.
They didn't splash as much as the chicken.
It's also thicker now,
Yeah, exactly. See, I knew you were smart.
so. I'm a good social biter too.
And then we're gonna add in the carrots. Excellent. We're gonna add a little bit more of the chicken stock.
Okay. Look at that. That looks delicious.
Pour that right in.
More?
A little bit more. And again, it is important to thicken it to your consistency because when you put it in the oven and bake, it will get a little bit thicker than it already is.
Okay.
So we're gonna let this sit and stew for about, I would say, 5 to 10 minutes. And we will get our pie dough rolled out into its pie dish and fill up our pies.
Ooh, easy.
So you take it out of your saran wrap. Give that to you. And if you look closely, you can see that it still has butter chunks.
Okay.
That means that you did it properly. because you want to have solid chunks. It leaves it flakier. So you're going to start to roll the dough out, and it's really important to try and always roll it in the same direction. All right, so your best measuring tool is your actual dish.
Okay.
So this one's gonna be this big. So you got about there, and then this one, you wanna give a little extra room. Sometimes dough does shrink, so I always cut it just a little bit bigger
Okay.
to have excess. You could always save your excess dough. You're gonna take it and you're gonna place it over as evenly as you can, and you're gonna press it right inside the dish. And make sure you press it completely in the dish, because if you don't, it'll develop air pockets
Okay.
and you won't be able to fill it with anything. Another thing with pie dough, gotta poke it. Gotta give it holes so there are no steam pockets. Again, your border doesn't have to be completely pretty, not yet anyway, because we're going to
Add the
add the top layer. Okay, and that's basically what it should look like on the inside. We are going to grab the chicken pot pie filling and fill her up.
This looks good.
Now it's not too hot, it doesn't have to be ice cold. It was simmering, developing flavor. And again, you could fill this to as much as you would like.
It's nice and thick.
And one thing we didn't put in our pot pie that most people do are peas, but that's just because I personally am not a big fan. But if you are, feel free to put some peas in there. All right, so this is our second piece of dough. We're gonna lay it on top. And this is where we're gonna make the two pieces of dough meet together. Just gonna combine them together, make a little edge. Just give it a nice little fold over so you just have a little bit more of a defined crust. Okay, now here's the big move. Take a knife,
Gotcha.
pointy one. See, I have this dull one, don't do much. And you're gonna make 4 slits. This is to let the steam out
Okay.
so that your pie has room to breathe. So we're gonna put this in our oven that's been preheated at 400 degrees. If you want, you can open it for me.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna slide it right in. Gonna close it, and it's gonna bake for about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes.
So on to the sweet stuff.
Okay, so with the same exact pie dough recipe, nothing different. It's actually the other half of the dough that we
Okay.
used before. We're gonna do the same exact thing, except we're just gonna roll it out larger. Roll.
And again, you could see all the butter in it. It really does look, this even looks good, raw.
Well, it doesn't taste good raw.
I'm sure it does.
All right, so now with our pre-greased apple dish, we are going to, again, measure. You're gonna cut this one larger than the actual size of the pie, because you have to account for the sides.
And it does shrink.
The pie dough does shrink. Not a lot, but it does. So, since you enjoy dough, that's for you. Turn this over. Okay, so I'm just gonna roll it out a little bit more,
Okay.
and then going to lie it over the dish. Try and make it as even as possible on the sides. And again, you're gonna press it in. I mean, you're really gonna press it in.
Steam pockets.
Exactly, to avoid steam pockets. And again, make sure that you poke holes. Avoid the steam pockets. Now you're gonna take the aluminum foil and really press it in. Don't be afraid. Press it all the way down, because that will make air pockets as well. The other aluminum foil, press it down. It doesn't bite. And then again, I always give it some extra holes to let it breathe.
Okay. And you're using the lentils, why? To keep it down?
The lentils weigh it down so
Okay.
that it will definitely avoid air pockets. Again, you could use lentil beans. If you have another dish the same size, you could put it on top. That's
Okay.
it. Goes in the oven for about 25 to 35 minutes.
Okay, so now we're going to teach our loyal social biters how to actually make the apple crumb pie filling.
Absolutely. It's really simple. You have some apples, regular sugar, brown sugar, cinnamon. We're going to use some arrowroot, butter, and a little bit of salt. Okay, Jeannie, so I put the apples in the pot.
Okay.
Just to get it started, we're going to put in some butter. Let it mix in there. We're going to do about a teaspoon of cinnamon. Sprinkle that in. And then I've already measured this out, as the recipe will be posted for you. We're going to put some brown sugar in.
Okay.
And we are going to put some regular sugar, granulated sugar in. And we're going to mix it around. Okay, so the apples have cooked for about 20 minutes, I would say. They cooked down.
They cooked down a lot.
Yeah, they got nice and thick.
Okay.
So now we're going to take this, we're going to put it into our pre-cooked pie shell and put some crumb topping on it, and then put it back in the oven for about 15-20 minutes, and we're going to be eating amazing apple pie.
Okay, so now we're going to do the crumb, and it's really easy, right?
It's super
I don't know.
easy.
I just keep
No,
saying it.
it is. That's the whole point. That everything here is really easy.
Okay.
The crumb is probably the easiest. So you're going to take a 1/4 cup of the sugar, dump it in the bowl. Do the same thing with the brown sugar. And again, with the brown sugar, just going to pack it.
Okay.
Dump it in the bowl. Give that a little mix. And I have some melted butter
Okay.
that we're just going to pour over. You're going to stir it in.
Now this is for the top.
This is for the top. Yep.
Okay.
You stir it in.
Oof.
Get it all good. You want it to get kind of pasty. I don't know if you could see. Gonna take a little bit of cinnamon. Mix that in as well.
Are you putting in salt?
Just a dash. You could actually do it with your hands because I only want you to do a pinch. Again, because it's kosher salt, so that's perfect. That'll melt in. Then with our same, I'm gonna put a full cup of the flour. We're gonna mix it up, and that's it. Crumb, finished. We're gonna put it to the side. We're gonna fill our pie dough with our apple filling, and that's it. We're finished. We're good to go. Okay, Jeannie, this is the pre-baked pie crust that I was telling you about.
Okay.
Easy, simple. So now, with our finished apple pie filling, we're gonna put it right in.
This smells so good.
Thank you. If you could tilt it just a little bit more. Now, if you don't have someone to help you like I do, just use a ladle. And you want to fill it nice and good. And don't forget, it's going in the oven for about another 15 or 20 minutes. So the apples will bake down just a little bit more. All right, good. So now we've got it all in there. Spread it out as evenly as you can. And this is where you get the whole family involved. And you take the crumb that all we did was, when we mixed it up, we let it get hard and we made it into little crumbles. And that was it. And now we are gonna have fun.
All right.
And just place the crumb all over. Not too clumpy. Nice and easy. And if you could kindly, if you could open the oven for me, I'm gonna put it right in. We're gonna bake it for about 15-20 minutes. Okay, Jeannie, we're all done. How hard was that?
It wasn't hard at all.
It was really easy, right? I told you so. Oh my God.
It really was. It looks great.
I bet you it tastes better. Have a bite. You can see the different layers. Be careful, it's hot.
Mmm. Oh, so good.
So now that you know my cooking is easy, and now that the social biters know that it's easy, we have a catering offer going on. I could come to your house and
Give a lesson?
give a lesson, cook you up a meal for your own private event. Maybe, you know, teach people knife skills, basic sauce skills, or just if you want to have a party and don't want to do any of the work, I can do it for you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Social Biters, for joining us, and we'd like to give a special thanks to Video SEO Pro for helping us make this cooking lesson for you. And if you try this at home or you give us a call to give you a lesson, whatever happens, you just let them know you've been bitten. Thanks.